Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome back to Babylon Talmud. Today we're studying Daf Yudches, Daf 18, Daf Chai, to life, L'chaim, of Masechta Sheqalim. Well, today's Daf we're going to talk a shtickle about the menorah, a shtickle about the 13 chests that they had in the temple, and we are going to conclude the 6th parak of Masechta Sheqalim, and we are not going to begin the 7th parak. We shall do that tomorrow. Let's get started. We are on Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis, 4 lines from the bottom. Tani Baruch Hashem. The gardener started doing his gardening thing this second. Gishmak. Okay, says the Gemara, 4 lines from the bottom on Yud Zayin Amud Beis. Tani Mizrach u'Ma'ariv aynusunin, that the shulchanos were in the heichal from east to west. That is the opinion of Rebbe. Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon Omer, says Rabbi Elazar Reb Shimon, Sofin V'Darim Aynusunin, that the shulchanos were north-south. Mandam Mizrach u'Ma'ariv Nicha, says the Gemara, I understand according to the Mandam who says that the tables were going east-west, Kulu Ru'ui in the Sheros. They can all work because the shulchan needs to be in the north of the heichal. And if it's going east-west, so it's in the north of the heichal, going east-west. Mandam Tzafin V'Darim, Nimtza Shulchan B'Darim. The problem, if you say that the shulchanos were going north-south, well then, the width of the heichal was 20 amas. Now, if each shulchan was 2 amas, well, and it goes north-south, so it means it's mamish going to take up the entire width of the heichal, which means that you can have a shulchan in the south, which is you're not allowed to have a shulchan in the south. So the Gemara says, I don't get it, and it leaves it at that. Skip the next few words. Tani, it was taught in the Brisa, shulchan ayanasun mechatzi abayis v'lifnim. The shulchan was halfway through the heichal and inwards. Okay, mashuch min hakosel beis amas v'mechza, 2.5 amas from the wall, klapi atzafin, towards on the northern part of the heichal. U'menorah kinegdo b'darim. And the menorah in the heichal was opposite the shulchan in the south. Mizbech hazav hayanosun be'emtza abayis. The golden mizbeach was halfway through the width of the heichal. Cholek es habayis mechetzio v'lifnim, and it was halfway through the heichal and inward. Mashuch kima klape chutz, but a little bit more. I think what it means is a little bit more outward than the menorah and the shulchan. It's like a triangle, basically. And all of them were a third of the way through the heichal and inward. As a menorah, also Shlomo. There were 10 menorahs that Shlomo HaMelech made. Shneimar, the Pasuk says, "V'yasas menorahs hazav eser k'mishpato," that Shlomo HaMelech made 10 menorahs. And he put them in the heichal, 5 to the right and 5 to the left. In Tamer Chomesh B'Tzapim V'Chomesh B'Darim. If you say that this means that 5 of the menorahs were in the north and 5 of the menorahs were in the south, but that can't be. The menorah has to dafka be in the south. You can't have a menorah in the north. Shneimar, the pasuk says, as the pasuk says that the menorah is opposite the shulchan and it is on the southern part of the heichal. No, so we answer it the same way that we answered by the shulchan yesterday. That it means that when we say 5 were to the right and 5 were to the left, 5 were to the right of the menorah of Moshe and 5 were to the left of it, but all of them were in the south. It means you had the menorah of Moshe Rabbeinu in the south, and then you had these 5 menorahs to the right, 5 menorahs to the left, but all in the south. And even though there were all of these options, they would only light the menorah of Moshe Rabbeinu. Shneimar, the pasuk says, that the menorah, the golden menorah, to light every single evening. Rabbi Yosa Rabbi Yehuda Omer al Kulan Oyamav. Rabbi Yosa Rabbi Yehuda says that he would light all of the menorahs. Shneimar, the pasuk says, menorahs, that the menorah is plural. The Neroseim, and their candles Leva'aram Kamishpat to burn them like the law. Lifnei Advir in front of the Kodesh HaKodashim, Zahav Sagur, closed gold, V'aperach v'aneros v'amalkuchayim Zahav, Hu Michlos Zahav, and the flowers and the candles and the tongues of gold, they were complete gold. What does it mean? Michlos Zahav, Hein Kilu Zahavu Shel Moshe, they completed all of the gold of Moshe Rabbeinu. Okay. Tani, wait, is there a gears that changes that to Shlomo? 1 second. Yeah, it finished the gold of Shlomo. Man, how are you supposed to know? Where even are we? How are you supposed to know to change these things? It's crazy. Like, I just remembered from when I learned earlier that, wait, it's not Moshe, it's Shlomo, but there's like no indication in the text that it's supposed to be Shlomo. Dude, Yerushalmi, at least Yerushalmi Sheqalim is a strange place. Let's go weiter in Shas. Where are we again? Tani Rav Yehuda b'shem Asi, says Rav Yehuda in the name of Asi, Hayashlomonotel Elef Kikrei Zav. The way that Shlomo would make these menorahs is that he would take 1,000 blocks of gold, machnis in the core, and you would put them into the what's it called? The crucible, maybe? You would put it into the thing that got really hot to make gold stuff. He would take 1,000 blocks of gold, put them into this core, and then it would like all melt down to one super duper pure bar of gold. Nekaim Hashnemar, to be Mekaim the pasuk Kikar Zav Tahor Osa Vigomer, make it one very very pure. Osa, right? Make it a very, very, very pure piece of gold. Tanya, we learn in the Brisa, Amr, Reb Yossi, Reb Yehuda, Maisa b'menoras, Zav, Sha'asa. Also this, there's a gears to change, but there's no indication in the text. Sha'asa, I think in the Beis HaMikdash, like the menorah of Moshe Rabbeinu that he had in the Midbar, Vaisiser dinar Zav. So basically they made a menorah in the Beis HaMikdash, and there was a little bit more gold. There was an extra dinar of gold in it. So v'chnisu el, so they put it back into the heat. Shmonim Pam, 80 times, V'lo chaser klum, and even though they kept on putting it back in the fire, it just would not become less to get to the proper weight. V'yos, and this taka makes sense, meaning on the one hand we're saying that Shlomo started with 1,000 gold blocks of gold, and in the end it all got burned down to, melted down to just one super duper pure block of gold, whereas apparently there's this other case where they kept on trying 80 times to refine the gold so that it would become less, and it just wouldn't become less. So the Gemara says, yeah, taka makes sense. V'yos adelo yakum al burare hava chaser sagin, right? So as long as it's not completely purified, so it can kind of go down in size. Min dukayim al burare lo chaser klum. But once already it gets to its purest form, then it can't go down anymore. Says the Mishnah, there were 13 of these chests in the Beis HaMikdash, tiklin chadtin. So one of the chests said new shekels, v'tiklin atikin. Another one said old shekels. Kinin v'goz le'ola. There were another two chests. One was for the kinin, the nests. One were for the ola birds. The Gemara will explain what they are. Eitzim, or maybe that's even the Mishnah, I think. Eitzim, a chest for the wood. Levona, a chest for the for the levona. Is that what frankincense is? But levona, I don't know, some kind of incense-y kind of thing. Zohav li chapores, another chest was for gold, for the kapores, for the covering of the aron. Shisha linidava, and then there were an additional 6 chests for donations. And those, of course, were for the Ketz Mizbeach, the korbanos that would go on the Mizbeach when there were no other korbanos. Tiklin chadtin sheb'choshana v'shana. The new shekel chest was for the shekels of every single year. V'atikin mishlohevi ishtakid shokel l'shana haba. The old shekel chest is for somebody who missed the cutoff on the previous year, so then the next year he brings it and puts it into the old shekel chest. Kinin hein torin. So the chest for the kinin are turtle doves. V'gozle ola hein b'nei Yona, and the gozle ola chest were for doves. Kulan olos, but all of the birds from the kinin and from the gozle ola, they were all olas. Divra Abuda, that's Abuda's opinion, whereas the rabbi's opinion is kinin echad chadas v'echad ola. That when the chest for the kinin, for the nests, was for purchasing the Ola and Chatas birds of a Zava Yoledes. Gozle Ola, the chest for the Gozle Ola were Kula and Olas, those were all Ola birds. Okay. Ha'omare Ola Eitzim, if a fellow says, I'm going to bring wood to the Beis HaMikdash, Leifchos Mishne Gzirin, he shouldn't bring less than 2 chunks of wood. Levona Leifchos Mikometz, if he says, I'm going to donate Levona to the Beis HaMikdash, he shouldn't bring less than a fistful. Zav Leifchos Midinar Zav. If he says, I'm going to bring gold, then he shouldn't bring less than a golden dinar. Shisha Linidava. When we say that there are 6 chests for the Nidava Mahayu Osin Ba, what would they do with this Nidava money from these 6 chests? Lochin Ba Olis, they would buy Ola offerings with them. Habasha Lashem Va'oris Lakohanim, the meat would go to the Eibishter and the hides would go to the Kohanim. Zemedrash Darsh Yoyada Kohen Gadol. Yoyada, the Kohen Gadol, made the following drasha, learning, teaching, exposition, drasha. Asham, who Asham Lashem. The pasuk says it is an Asham. He made an Asham for God. Ze'akal, this is the rule. Kol shu ba mishum chatas mishum ashma. Anything that whenever you have basically leftover money from a korban chatas or a korban asham that you were gonna, you set aside money to purchase a korban chatas or korban asham, and there was leftovers. So then yilakach bayan olis. So then you could purchase olas with that extra money. Habasol Hashem va'oris lakohanim. The meat goes to the Eibishter and the hides go to the Kohanim. Nimtzu shneksuvin kayamin, and by doing so you can be mekayim 2 different psukim. Asham la Hashem va'asham la Kohen. The pasuk that we read earlier says asham la Hashem, that the asham is for God, which is the meat, and va'omer, the pasuk also says kesef asham v'chesef chatas lo yuva beis Hashem l'kahanim yiyu, that the money for the kesef and the for the chatas and the asham should be for the Kohanim. And by bringing an Ola, we can be mekayim both, that the meat goes to the Eibishter and the hides go to the priests. Zokt the Gemara. Tanya, we're learning a brayso. Rabbi Yehuda lo haya shofar shakinim b'Yerushalayim mipnei ta'arovos shematamus achas v'nimtzu dmeichatos mesos mirovos bohen. No, what does that mean? So let's read that again. Tanya, we're learning a brayso. Rabbi Yehuda, says Rabbi Yehuda, lo haya shofar shakinim b'Yerushalayim mipnei ta'arovos. That, right, so Rabbi Yehuda's opinion in the Mishnah was that the kinin were for turtle doves and the gozle ola were for regular doves, but all olas. There was not, right, we had talked about the opinion of the Chachamim is that the kinin is for zava yoledes, who have to bring 2 birds. So one is a chatas and one is an ola. Says Rabbi Yehuda, no, that can't be, because if you have the chatas and the ola birds, what happens if if somebody puts money in that chest for a chatas and an ola, and then they die, lemaisa? So what do you do with the birds? The birds have to be killed, right? It's chatas mesa. And the problem is we don't know whose money belonged to that particular person who died, and basically everybody's money is messed up now, which is a big fat mess, because people were just dropping their money there and going on, assuming that Psachia was taking care and making sure that everybody's korbanos were offered. But in the end, nothing could be offered because somebody else died. It became a whole mess, and then nobody's korbanos are going to be taken care of, and it's going to be a big mess. So therefore, Rabbi Yehuda says you can't have these chatas birds mingled up in there. Right? Shematamus achas, because what if one person dies? V'nimtzu dmeichataos mesos moravos boed, which means that you have the money that's put in there for a chatas, right? Meaning one of the 2 birds is a chatas, one is an ola. But if this person dies, then the money that was to be for his or her chatas is a chatas mesa, chatas that you have to die because the owners died. And it's going to mess it up for everybody. 1 second, we learn in a brayso that says, if a woman says, look, I'm going to bring a pair of birds, she takes the money, the value of the birds, and she puts the money in the chest for the kinin, and then that night already she can eat kachim, because she can assume that Rebbeinu Chosheshes Shema Nisatzel Kayin, she doesn't have to be concerned, well, maybe the Kohanim aren't going to get around to it and they're not going to offer my birds that day. No, she can assume that the Kohanim are going to offer the birds. And the Kohanim don't have to be concerned that maybe she's going to die and then there's going to be value for chatas that really have to die mixed into the chest. So it's a kasha on Rabbi Yehuda, because it seems like a stam mishnah or a stam brisa. He doesn't seem to argue on this brisa, which sounds like he holds like it. And at the same time, it seems to be saying that if you need to bring these birds, you just do. You put the money in the chest, and it's no problem. We're not concerned that she's going to drop dead. So says Rabbi Yehuda, look, when I say not to mix them up, it means when we know for certain that if we know for certain that the person died, then it's going to become a problem. But in this case, in the Bryce, it was talking about nobody, we don't know that anybody died. So therefore, you can assume that the Kohanim are going to offer it by the night, and the Kohanim don't have to be concerned that maybe someone's going to die. That would be okay. But if we know for sure that somebody died, then we're not going to have, I guess then you wouldn't put money for that person in there, I guess. Okay? Or if we know for sure that they died, then it becomes a mess, I guess. Nivrar, but then the Gemara says, but one second, who even cares if somebody dies? Fine, so we found out for sure that somebody died, fine. Now it becomes a mess, but why is it such a mess? Just take out the value, right? Nivrar dalad zuzeh, take out 4 zuz, which is the value of the 2 birds. That will represent the money of this one person who passed away. Vinijde benaira, and throw it into a river, get rid of it. Ve'idach lishtru. And then all the rest of the money represents the people who are alive. So, Amina Ba'ama Rabbi Yehuda leis lebreira, to which the Gemara says, yes, but you cannot say that because Rabbi Yehuda in general does not hold a breira. If we're going to just take out 4 zuz and throw them into the river and say that represents the value of the person who passed away, well, that would mean breira, right? That's saying that we're taking this money, then retroactively we're saying that this money that we're taking is the money of that person who died. According to Rabbi Yehuda, it doesn't hold a breira. Therefore, we're unable to go back in time and say that this was the money of the person who passed away. And therefore, we have no way of knowing to whom the money, which is this person's money. Kind of messes it up for everybody if we know that somebody died for certain. Rabbi Yosef Rabbun Amra Ba Bar Mamel Ba'i. So they want to claim Amr Hare Alai Eitz. If a fellow says, I'm going to bring wood, maybe Gizer Echad, he could bring just one chunk of wood. Okay. Amr Reb Luzer, Masniso Amr Kain. So Reb Luzer says that, Taka, our Mishnah says this. Shezek Korban Bifnei Atzmo, that Vizek Korban Bifnei Atzmo, that each piece of wood would be considered its own korban. Let's go weiter for a second. Like that which we learned in the Mishnah, Taman over there, Shnaim biyadim Shnei Gizrei Eitzim. I think it must be a Mishnah in Masechta Talmud or something. Where's it from? Yoma. Ooh, wow, we're going to learn it soon. Yoma Chavav. So we're going to learn it in about a month. So there would be 2 Kohanim, and they would each be holding a piece of wood, which means that each piece of wood was like its own mitzvah. Therefore, Rabbi Elazar wants to say that you can, if you donate wood to the Beis Hamikdash, you can even donate just 1 piece of wood. That's enough. Okay, the puzzle says the Gemara says when the puzzle says korban, it means the Rabbis is aitzim to teach. That's how we know that you can even bring donations of wood, korbanos of wood. Okay. Rabbi Shua ben Levi Amar says Rabbi Shua ben Levi Ovion Ama Ba'ama Sochekes, that the thickness of these pieces of wood that they would donate was an amma thick, in an amma sochekes. An amma sochekes is like a, if you take an amma is 6 fists, 6 tfachim, but you can have tfachim that you clench your fist tight. You can have tfachim that you kind of leave it at ease. So these are talking about the thickness was an amma at ease. Ve'orkan be'ama geduma, but its length was a tightly clenched fist amma. Okay? Reb Choni b'shem Reb Ami k'min tortani, says Reb Choni in the name of Reb Ami, that it was like the thickness of a stick that you would use for like a weight on a scale or something. Alright, sounds good to me. Amr Reb Shmuel bar Reb Yitzchak lefish lo haya makom ha'mayracha ela amma al amma. Lefichach lo haya bo ela amma geduma. Uwah. So it says Reb Shmuel bar Yitzchak that since the, at least in the Mishkan, In the Beis Hamikdash, the Mizbeach was much bigger. But in the Mishkan, the place where the wood would go on the pyre, on the Mizbeach, was only 1 amma by 1 amma. And therefore, that is why the length of these pieces of wood was only 1 amma of like a tightly clenched fist amma. Vitani Kane, and we also have a verse that says amma yisod. We're going to talk about the different sections of the Mizbeach now. There's the yisod, the foundation part, which is an amma sovev. Also, the sovev was like about halfway through the height of the Mizbeach. So that was also an amma karkov, that was right beneath the sovev, was also an amma kronos, the corners of the Mizbeach. The horns on top were each 1 amma ma'arocha, as well as the pyre was 1 amma. So we see lemaise that the pyre was in amma by an amma. Says the Gemara, Livona lo yifchos mikometz. If a fellow says that he's going to donate Livona, so the Mishnah said that he shouldn't bring less than a kometz. Nemar kan azkara, it says as the word azkara by the lechem aponim. By the lechem aponim, there was 2 kometzes of Livon. No, there were 2, let's say, offerings of Livona that were brought with the lechem aponim. Okay, and it says azkara there, v'never lahalan azkara, and also says by the mincha of a sinner, azkara amr lahalan below kometz, af azkara amr kan below kometz. So just like the when it says azkara by the mincha of a sinner, by a minchas chote, it's talking about they would take a kometz, a fistful of flour, and put it out in the mizbeach. So also when it says azkara by the lechem aponim, we're talking about a fistful of livona, but like 1 fistful for each of the 2 stacks of lechem aponim. So basically 2 fistfuls. Fine. But we see that the livona, we're talking about a fistful of livona, and therefore if a fellow donates a livona stam to the Beis Hamikdash, so we're talking about a fistful of livona. Well, let me ask you a kasha. Well, when it comes to the lechem aponim, there were 2 kometzes because there was 1 for each stack of bread, right? There were 12 loaves, and they would be in 2 stacks on the shulchan. So over there's 2 kometzes. So let's say that when you donate to the Beis Hamikdash, also you'd have to have 2 fistfuls of levona. Amr b'ilam klum lamdu lekometz ela miminchas chote. Well, 1 second, we learn out the kometz, the fistful by the lechem aponim from the mincha of a sinner. Malalan kometz achosher pasul, avkan kometz achosher pasul. Well, just like by the fistful by the flour, if it's lacking, if it's less than a fistful, it's going to be pasul. So also the fistful when it comes to the lechem aponim, if either one of the 2 fistfuls is lacking, then it's going to be pasul. So we see that each one individually, right, each kometz on its own is important. It's not that like we need a total of 2 kometzes. Rather, each one on its own, even if one is more than a kometz and one is less than a kometz, it's irrelevant. So we see that each kometz in and of itself is significant, and therefore, if a fellow says that he's going to bring donate a kometz to the Beis Hamikdash, it means even 1 kometz. He's going to offer levona to the Beis Hamikdash, so it means even 1 fistful of levona. Amr Reb Yosa, says Reb Yosa Milsa Reb Ila Amra. Reb Ila said, "Amasnadev levona mevia bikumtso shel kohen." Oh, exactly. So it says Reb Yosa that based on what Reb Ila said, that each kometz on its own is significant. Well, therefore, if a fellow donates a kometz to the Beis Hamikdash, so he should measure it based on the kometz of the biggest kohen that there is that day, to make sure that you're having a full fistful's worth, the biggest that you can possibly get, and it's not going to be lacking. Reb Chizkiah b'shem Reb Yirmiyah v'afilu b'kometz habaylim. Reb Chizkiah in the name of Reb Yirmiyah says, meh, not so important. You can even just use the fistful of the owner, and whatever that is, it's fine. Zav lo yivchos v'chule. You shouldn't have less than a dinar of zav, a golden dinar, a golden coin of gold. Amr Reb Elazar v'hushe hizkir tzura. Reb Elazar says that that's davka though if he mentions that he's going to bring like a form, a coin. But if he didn't say specifically a coin of gold, well, maybe afilu tzinora, then you can even bring like a dingle hopper of gold. You know what I'm talking about? Dingle hopper, beginning of Little Mermaid, the dingle hopper, a fork. Shisha l'nedava. We said that there were 6 chests that had that were for the nedava. Right, the money would go to buy the korbanos for the Ketz HaMizbeach. So Chizkiah Amar Keneged Shisha Batei Avos. How come we came up with the number 6? How come 6 chests? So Chizkiah said it's for the 6 Bati Avos. Who remembers what Bati Avos are? I think they've come up before. That the Kohanim were divided into 24 mishmaros, right? And each week would be a different mishmar. And then the mishmar was divided into 6 Bati Avos. Each day of the week, a different base of would serve in the base of Mikdash, and on Shabbos they would all serve. Bar Pidaya. Who was that fellow at the end of Masechta Brachas? Bar Hedia, I think, right? Remember the dream interpreter? That was like 1,000,000 years ago. Bar Pidaya Omar Keneged. Oh my gosh, I think I was in Yerushalayim when we learned that. I was staying at a hotel, I think. Bar Hedia. What was I doing at a hotel? I don't remember. It was rainy that day, I think. I don't know. It was whatever it was. Okay, Omar Keneged Sheish Behemos. So by Pidaya says that it's based on the 6 animals that you bring as a korban: par ve'egel, a ox, right, a cow and a calf, v'sayir, ayil, and a goat and a ram, gedi v'tale, and a kid and a sheep. Shmuel Omar Kineged Shisha Korbanos. Shmuel says it's based on the following 6 korbanos: kinezavim v'kinezavos. So the birds of a zav and a zava, kineyoldos, yoledos. The birds of a woman who gives birth, atos, vashamos, hamanachos, vasir sa'efa, the 10th of an ephah that the Kohen Gadol offers every day, the minchas chavitin. Rabbi Yochanan Aideshe Hanidav Meruba Ribu Lo Shufaros Harbi. Rabbi Yochanan says, well, the Maisa, there was a lot of people donating money for these korbanos, so that's why there were 6 of them. That's why there's 6 chests. Very practical reason. Ksiv, the pasuk says, it says that it says that they brought all of these donations to the king. Who is this king? Yoshio, I think. It was Yoash and Yehoyada the Kohen Gadol. Okay, so at the end, so they brought before the king. It says of Shmuel bar Nachman b'shem Reb Yonas and Amr Shtei Nedavos also that he made 2 different chests. Okay. Tani Dever Bishman Dava Achas was 1 chest. Okay. The pasuk says Vayom HaMelech Vayasu Aron Echad, that they made 1 chest. Vayitneu beHeichal Beis Hashem, they put it by the Heichal, in the Heichal. Vayikov Chor B'Dalto, they made a hole in its door. Vayich Vayom HaMelech Vayasu Aron Echad Vayitneu B'Shar Beis Hashem Chutza. Right, but then we have another pasuk that says that they put a chest on the outside of it. So doesn't it sound like they were talking 2 chests? So no, it was only outside. They put it outside because of it tmeim. There's another pasuk that says like no, don't use the money that was donated to the a temple for it to be paying for like vessels and stuff, which implies that there were dafka 2 different types of collections, one for like the Bedek Habayis and one for the Klesharis and stuff. So I guess that there were 2. Okay, 2 chests, 1 chest. Okay, Seder. Sounds good to me. And we will come back to you the chapter of 13 shofars, 13 chests. All right. Well, that was Daf Yud Ches. I hope it gave you a lot of chayas, and I hope I'll see you tomorrow. Peace out.